Hi everybody, it's Maria, and I am back from a week or two sabbatical from YouTube. It was a good break, mostly. We had a lot of travel stuck in there. Yeah, last couple times I've talked to you, I know probably weren't as upbeat as usual. We've had a lot of change. We lost one of our dogs. Well, we didn't lose them. We had to put him down, but we're doing a little bit better. Our pug is transitioning okay, although I've given him a lot more cuddles, and he's never known life without his big brother dog. So, yeah, so it's just been a little different, but we don't have to guard our table quite as preciously. Our other dog always been getting our food. So, I mean, he's just up until the end, always getting on the table to steal food. So, there's that. Anyway, we got a new fridge because our old fridge broke. Lots of change. Anyway, I was pretty downtrodden about life, and I'm feeling much better. I had kind of a couple of days break with some extended family, and I just got back to a little bit normal. We had the longest road trip ever. Going on long trips with kids is definitely a challenge, especially when there's construction and weather, and yeah. Anyway, I thought it would be really fun to do a book sale haul that I got while I was on vacation. So I'm counting them as souvenirs and not book buying day. If you knew what week I had last week, you would understand. But my husband's like, I didn't know it was quarterly book buying day. And I said, it's my souvenirs. So my aunt said there was a library book sale going on, and we took it. So most of these are for me. A couple of them I got for the kids, although I have to pre-read them, because you'll see. And then I'm not going to show you some of the picture books just because they've already been strewn all over the house. So a lot of these I know about, some of these I don't. I think I was pretty choosy. I have no idea where I'm going to put them on shelves, but that's future Maria's problem. So first up is Silver Tongue by Charlie Fletcher. This is actually book 3 in the Stoneheart trilogy. I have not read book 1 or 2, but my middle child is trying to transition into middle grade readers and said, I don't care if it's book 3. I want that book. So I'm going to see if the library at least has book 1 and 2. But it sounds interesting from the flap. There's a city of London in the middle of one of the most destructive wars in history, but most of its inhabitants don't know it yet. The battle between statues and gargoyles rage, and the 12-year-old George Chapman and his friend Edie are caught in the middle. So it sounds interesting. There's Eye of London on the back with a gargoyle, so that's promising. Who knows? Next up are some Steinbecks, and actually one of these I did not get on it, but I just grabbed at a different sale. I have Steinbeck, The Long Valley, which is actually a collection of short stories I've already started in on. The first one, Chrysanthemums, kind of blew me away a little bit. So The Red Pony is part of this collection, although I just read that in the BookTube-a-thon, so I'm not going to reread that part, but glad to have a little paperback copy with an old cover. And then The Moon is Down by John Steinbeck. I purchased at a different library book sale, but again, I've slowly been buying used Steinbecks because they make me happy. Next up is another old book, The Manchurian Candidate by Richard Condon. And yeah, I mean, it's an old, beat-up copy. I remember seeing the movie with Denzel Washington and Julia Roberts and liking the movie. I didn't remember much about it other than it's a conspiracy theory, and there's, yeah, Raymond is welcome in Washington's inner circle. He is a national hero, the proud wearer of the Congressional Medal of Honor. He's the stepson of the man destined to become America's next vice president. But what the politicians don't know, and what he himself doesn't know, is that he's been successfully brainwashed, controlled by a man in red china who has primed him to become a deadly instrument of destruction at a certain time in a certain place. So I thought that would be kind of fun to read. Yeah. So political thrillers for the win. The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society. I have heard about this so many places on BookTube, on what should I read next. I mean, just a lot of people have talked about it. It's by Mary Ann Schaefer and Annie Barrows. It's about World War II, and there's an island of Guernsey, and I think a bunch of people who like reading, and maybe they do something to defeat the Nazis. That sounds probably right. Or at least to survive the war and be heartwarming. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out at some point. this one, I might have heard about this on Memento Mori's channel, but that could be completely wrong. This is Mark Twain's Pudd'nhead Wilson. And I'd never heard of this. I might have heard of anyway, I heard about it on BookTube somewhere. And I've never heard of this one by Mark Twain before, but it's set in a town on the Mississippi during the pre-Civil War era. It centers its plot around a deception of switched identities involving a child born free and a child born slave. A novel of biting social commentary and enduring relevance, a melodrama and murder mystery. Pudd'nhead Wilson, an intellectual with a penchant for amateur detection. So, I don't know, social justice mixed with, I don't know, a biting social commentary. That sounds good. Yeah, I remember hearing about it and thinking that sounds right up my alley, and it's a classic, and I love that, and it's not too long. I've never really read Mark Twain. I think I read little bits and pieces of Huck Finn, but not really anything else. It reminded me, reading this description, a little bit of Homegoing, so it'll be very different than that. But anyway, this one, Ken Follett, I fell hard for him with the first book of the Century Trilogy, which I still need to get to the second book of. I have so many books, guys, it's ridiculous. But this is The Eye of the Needle, and it is also now a spine-tingling United Arts movie starring Donald Sutherland. So I will be able to check that out. I love Donald Sutherland. The best spy novel of the year. His code name was The Needle. He was a tall, handsome German aristocrat of extraordinary intelligence, England's most dangerous enemy. He knew the secret that could win the war for Hitler. She was Lucy Rose, a beautiful young Englishwoman, torn between her burning desire and her binding duty. She was the only one who could stop him. So that sounds good. And Ken Follett can tell a good story. So I'm excited. And then I can watch the Donald Sutherland movie. That'll be fun. My favorite movie with him, I think it was the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And then at the end, I don't want to spoil it, but the end of the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers just like chills me every time I think about it. Donald Sutherland's in that. Anyway, if you haven't seen it, watch it. This is great. Even if you don't do horror, it's just, I mean, the special effects, you won't be like terrified about it because, I mean, it's from the 70s. So this one is The Ode Less Traveled, Unlocking the Poet Within by Stephen Fry. If you are familiar with Stephen Fry, he did a bit of Fry and Laurie. He did Wooster, Jeeves and Wooster. He's a British comedian. I'm trying to remember if there's anything more like, I mean, Blackadder. I don't know. I don't know what's weird for normal people. I'm not, I guess I'm not normal. Anyway, my husband and I really like British television, and he's a British comedian, and we love him. So The Ode Less Traveled is kind of his book about poetry and getting into it more. And I think, yeah, it says Stephen Fry believes that if one can speak and read English, one can write poetry. So it's kind of a crash course in poetry, and I thought that would be really cool, especially by him. So next up, Agatha Christie, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd. I heard about this several times on different Book Riot podcasts, and everybody just kept saying, oh, that's like their favorite Agatha Christie. And while I haven't read a ton of hers, and I don't think she's for me like across the board, like I'm not going to be reading through her whole back catalog. Occasionally, I've really enjoyed picking up one of hers. They're not too long. And Murder of Roger Ackroyd seems to be on the tip of everybody's tongue, so I picked it up. I don't know anything other than that about it, is that it's a good one. Next up, I bought my own copy of Cold Mountain. So Kate from Life Between Words and Kayla from Mountain School will be very excited because that's some of their favorites. So Cold Mountain, Civil War drama. It's been made into a movie, which I've not let myself watch because I've not read the book. So next up is a kid's book. It's The Runaway Princess. And it's about a princess who prefers to play with frogs instead of embroidering and doesn't care for frilly dresses. There's a dragon, and she has to save everybody. So I thought that would be kind of fun. And it's an older book, so I like that the princess is kind of kick butt in that. Next up, Carry On Warrior, Thoughts on Life Unarmed by Glennon Doyle Melton. I love her. If you don't follow her on Facebook or on Instagram, follow her because she's very... especially love is activism. I appreciate that. I'm going to go see her in October along with several other writers that I really like, and I'll do probably a separate video on that. But I've been wanting to pick this up, and it's been on my list of grab it whenever I see it, and I saw it, so I grabbed it. Next up, Return to the Willows by Jacqueline Kelly, and this is actually a follow-up to Wind in the Willows, which my children love, so we had to pick that one up. I know nothing about it other than it has the same characters, and it wasn't written by Kenneth Graham. Salt by Helen Frost, and this is about two 12-year-olds in 1812 in the Indiana Territory, and yeah, it's Native Americans and a trader, a father who is a trader and his son. I don't know. So it should be interesting, and we'll be studying that time of history in our school this year. So I thought it'd be fun to pick up. This next one I know really absolutely nothing about, and I would not have grabbed it except my 6-year-old grabbed it 3 different times. I kept trying to hide it back on the shelf, and he kept putting it back in the bag. It's by Joy Haldeman. It is the Hugo and Nebula award-winning author, and this is Guardian. Rosa Coleman has not had an easy life. Uprooted from her southern home during the Civil War, she settled in Philadelphia, where she married a man of leisure whose compassion quickly turned to cruelty. Yeah, I'm probably not going to let him read this, but he insisted that I get it and try reading it in case he could maybe read it. But once that cruelty was inflicted upon their only son, Daniel, yeah, I didn't really read this book jacket. She picked up and fled with the boy across the uncivilized western frontier into Alaska. But even the harsh journey across America has not prepared her for the possibilities that await. Something not of the world has approached her. It has revealed the universe's secrets to her, and it will take her on an extraordinary odyssey as she discovers that she has a role to play in bringing peace to the earth. I don't know, but he said, Mom, I really want you to get this because I want to read it sometime. So I got it because I did. And the last one is Edward Rutherford's London, the novel. I know he's also done one called New York. I meant to read this before we went to London last time, and I didn't. It's basically a novel of London through the ages. So it should read kind of like Ken Follett's books, I think, but specified on one particular time frame. And if I like this, maybe I'll pick up the New York one, or some of his other books, even though it is a fat honker. So those are the books that I have recently, actually, I got one more at our library sale. The Imperfect Environmentalist by Sarah Gilbert. A practical guide to clearing your body, detoxing your home, and saving the earth without losing your mind. So that was there too. We have a lot of books to read. Can I get an amen? There's so many books to read. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, but yeah, I'm done buying books for a while because I have so many on my list to read that I'm excited about. So here's to starting fresh and trying to get back in the swing of things with some good reads. So I will talk to you all later. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these, or if you're excited, or one I should start with, or one that you're like, not a good book. I would love to hear that too. That will save me some time. I will talk to you all later. Bye.